My name is Jacob, and welcome to another episode of Uncut on the Abrasive Conversations platform. So, it's finally here. Our president has announced the new cabinet. So, the new cabinet has clearly some winners, and there is definitely some losers. But before I get into the winners and the losers in the current government of national unity, I would like us to discuss, I think, how many questions? One, two, three, four. Four questions, which is quite important before we get into a discussion of winners and losers. And I have to give props and I have to give recognition to these questions. These questions is questions that comes from Tendo. Tendo is currently producing this particular episodes with regards to the government of national unity. So the first question that I think that we have to talk about, which departments are necessary. So as you would know, currently our cabinet actually increased. The previous cabinet was 30 positions and this one now have 32 positions. So the cabinet got bigger. So there's a discussion that I had in our last conversation. What does a bigger cabinet means? A bigger cabinet only affects us as citizens and voters and the taxpayer. We that contribute to the salaries, the benefits, and in running these particular departments. Now, currently, we are in a moment of austerity. Austerity means is that we have to tighten our belts and pockets and redirect money to certain aspects to get some level of economic growth and focus on job creation. But this is one of the things that a bigger cabinet will not do. It means that it's going to cost the taxpayer a lot more money. And as we heard last night, our president say this was necessary to accommodate parties within the government of national unity. So by accommodating parties in the government of national unity, does it mean that our interests as voters are being accommodated? So is all of these departments then necessary? Which is the first question. So, for example, do we really need a minister that is responsible for planning? This is an important point to reflect on. Isn't every government department supposed to plan its own programs? Do we really need a department that is responsible for central planning, that kind of put a direction, a governmental direction in place? I think it's one of those departments that we really do not need. Another department that we can reflect on, do we really need a department like a Department of Women? Now, I'm a big supporter of discrimination or activists against the discrimination of women and children in society. So the question I have, if we have a department of women, does it really forward the interests of women? Isn't departments responsible in every department to have a specific focus on GBV in issues of children? Isn't planning in the issues of women supposed to be constitutional issues that departments have to address? So why do we need a department like that? And I would like to hear your input with regards to that, because to be honest, since that department was introduced, I haven't seen the interests of women being pushed aggressively as the department is supposed to do it. But then, what about ministries like Department of Labor? Is the Department of Labor really necessary? I think it's one of those departments that is necessary, But over the years, I think it forgot its mandate. I don't think the Department of Labor is fulfilling the role that they currently are supposed to. For example, they have to do site inspections, and many of them doesn't even go out to site. It was interesting after the collapse of the building in George, where so many people have died, that suddenly the Western Cape government of Labour sent out inspectors to inspect other construction sites. Now my question is, why didn't they do it before the time? Do we have to wait up until a crisis happens before we really do our jobs? So I think the Department of Labor is necessary, but I think there needs to be a kind of reorientation as to what they're supposed to do, and really put the interests of workers and laborers central to their specific mandate. What about the Department of Forestry and Fisheries? So for many people, a Department of Forestry and Fisheries might not see something that you need, an environment that you need. But I think it's a very important department, because currently I'm involved in a project that is heavily focusing on forestry. So if we do not protect the forests, then invasive alien species take over lands and landscapes, and what it really does, it causes a fire hazard for farmers that is situated close to those particular forests. So it's not just a forest has such a large ecological role, that is something that we have to really take cognizance to. So I really think a Department of Forestry, Fishery and Environment is necessary, especially if we want to attain the sustainable development goals. There might be other people who think, this is not necessary. We're supposed to protect it, but I do not trust humans. So I think this is one of the departments that actually needs more funding, and there's supposed to be a bigger focus on that specific department. State security. Do we really need state security? If we have military intelligence, we have the police intelligence, if there's so many other departments, why can't this department be part of a much bigger department? And I think this is one of the departments that we can actually integrate with other departments, especially the police. But then there's the issue of secrecy. State security is all about secrets, and do we have the kind of police system that keeps secrets and have the best interests of citizens and people, the larger national security? Do they really have it at heart? And I really don't think so. So it's one of these catch-22 situations. You can shift it to another department, but because police is so dysfunctional, can you really trust the police with state security? Do we need a Department of Public Service and Administration? This is an interesting one, because what does the union do? Because I think that's the function of a trade union, to put the interests of workers central. But then public service and administration is so much more than just focusing on the employees. But I think it's a department that really wouldn't be missed if we take it. And I know I might offend people who works in those particular departments, but it's a department that can be integrated into other departments in terms of their functions. Their functions is fulfilled by any other department. And then we have the final one is electricity and energy. Do we really need a Department of Electricity and Energy? So I'm actually pulled in two ways of this particular one. I feel like it can be integrated with other departments, but the Department of Electricity, or what we see with the Minister of Electricity, quite did a good job. We haven't had load shedding for months. We don't know if this is really going to last for that long, but it seems that a ministry for electricity really solve, or is trying to solve the electricity issue. But electricity is part of energy. So can't it just be the Department of Energy? Because energy include fossil fuel types of energy, and even renewable energy like wind and solar and hydro. Do we really need that's the specific department? If we have ESCOM, which is a parastatal that is supposed to give attention to energy issues in South Africa. People, there is a big bumblebee in this particular venue, and have been making noise. It must have a nest somewhere, but I let the bumblebee do it, and I will do me on this particular one. So these are some of the departments that we as citizens have to have a discussion on, and start steering the conversation as to how many departments do we really need and which departments can we do without. Which bring me to the question, what does ministers really do? Does ministers have a job? And the episode after this, I'm going to reflect on the jobs of ministers and various ministers. But what does ministers really do? Especially now if it's divided between political parties in the government of national unity. What is their job supposed to do? Now, what I've learned in public administration is that the minister's job is to give political direction, and that political direction is informed by the voters or the citizen. The Director General of departments is to formulate policies that will make that specific vision or that direction comes to life. But here's a technical thing that people doesn't tell you. In South Africa, we work with a medium-term expenditure framework. Now, the medium-term expenditure framework is where we plan for 3 years. So it means if we have a specific program, we allocate funds to that specific program for 3 years. So this new government that is coming in is going to finish most of these programs for, over the next 3 years before we can start planning and put money into other programs. So for example, if there is programs that is ending this year, a new political direction might even introduce new programs, but it's not something that is immediately going to happen. So for the next 2.5 or so years, most ministers is just going to try and find their feet, and they're going to finish programs that has been in that specific department. If you stop it immediately and you introduce a new program, then you might cause chaos. For example, if there's a social relief program that you immediately stop, then you create a problem somewhere. So what most departments does is they gradually exit themselves from those particular programs. So you can't immediately do it and stop something because the consequences is just too big. So this is the reality. So do we really need ministers? Theoretically and politically, yes. But practically, I don't think we really need ministers, and I really do not think that we need so many ministers. We don't need 32 ministers. I really do not think it. So this is just my view on the matter, that we don't really need that much. I'm also of the view that ministers is getting too much, getting paid too much, and they have too much benefits. When we live in a society where the majority of people are poor and working class, then you cannot have those kind of outrageous benefits and salaries because then you do not represent the poor. You need to be closer to the poor to understand the issues of the poor. And most of these ministers and people who've been in parliament have forgotten how it feels to be working class and to be poor. So you have to reorientate yourself. So take some of those benefits away, take some of their salaries away, and I think they will have a much more empathetic understanding as to what the poor and the working class is going through. And my final question is, what is the bigger implications for a bloated government? I think there's not much benefit from it. I think the biggest implication is that it's going to cost us more money. I think that the political parties is going to fight more over the direction. We see how long it took the president to announce a new cabinet. So with each program and each department, there's going to be this type of conversation. And this is the reality of coalition governments. Coalition governments doesn't get things done. In most cases, there is a lot of argument. And I am interested to see how the new budget is going to look. How much fighting over the new budget is going to be before it's going to be approved. And which of these inflated ministries is going to get more money. Remember, the budget every year is an act that needs to be passed by Parliament. So after Parliament opens, one of the first things that happens is the State of the Nation address, is where the president put its vision and his cabinet's vision forward, and after that they formulate a budget that closely mirror the president's vision. Now that needs to be approved, and what I'm currently seeing, how long it took one decision to put a cabinet together, we might have a same issue when it comes to the budget. So I don't see any positive benefits from a bloated cabinet, a multi-party cabinet, and what I'm saying is that decisions is going to take longer and it's going to cost us more. So that brings me to an end to this particular segment where I speak about the government of national unity and the new cabinet that the president put forward. In the next episode, I'm going to look at who is the biggest losers and the biggest winners with the new cabinet. See you in the next episode. Thank you for watching.